hey guys. So I wanted to kind of start the video sort of based on where we left off last night and just sort of show you how to put on some little last minute details. This is the brush. You guys have asked me what brush I use. It's just a medium water brush. I use it for everything. These are the Prima watercolors, but I think I've got 3 sets and I've just divided mine into cool colors and warm colors. I have my charts up here. It's my hair, it gets everywhere. I've got my charts up here of what the palette looks like, so I don't, because that is a crazy color. Actually, I don't even have that one up there. So this is a crazy kind of color, but that's hard to tell when it's just sitting in there. So I do keep my little paper towels here so that I can always kind of work, and then I use my palettes to paint with. So okay, so, and again, these were the Prima watercolors. I get them on Amazon. I just kind of watch for them to be on sale. I wanted to show you here. Do you see how I've kind of started? Remember I was showing you last night that with the pen you kind of can do these rounded lines. Well, I've started kind of laying those in with my dark, so that I'm kind of building in some of that texture and some of that, and I'm just going to leave that. I know that that's going to stress some of you out, but that's okay, because it's gnarly and it's an old tree, and you know, I want it to look kind of textured, right? I don't want it to be all flat. So this is all part of that. So here I don't like how this looks, so I'm just squeezing on some water and sort of getting that out a little bit. So here on my water, I have this really great blue color. So what I want to do is I just want to kind of add in a little bit of like shadows in on my watercolor, on my waters here, so that see how that just makes it pop straight away, and I can put in a little bit of a shadow where my hearts are. Kind of think, oh, I just put some black in. That's okay, that's all right. So here I'm just kind of putting in, I like to put a little pop right underneath all of these little dots so that there's just a little shadow. In my head, in my world, I imagine that there'd be sort of a shadow underneath these water droplets. And then here, wouldn't it kind of shoop, kind of floop right out of there. So here, see right here, I think that we could use just a little bit of a shadow, and that will make that pop, that heart kind of pop out a little bit. So I'm not being real exact, and I'm letting it sort of be loosey-goosey and not real, you know, I'm just kind of plotting it in a little bit, not being real careful about the where or the how. But do you see how that sort of, and it's going to always dry a little bit lighter than what it starts out as. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that in any of our classes, that it always does dry just a tinge lighter. So, okay, so I've got my water done. I think I'm gonna, let me get some more on here. I think I'm gonna use this one too. Okay, so I do not have my graphs on yet, so we will get to do that together. So I'm going to start, remember we start light. See, now this is going to be wet right here, so just give me 1 second. Let me just dry that little guy out. All right, so here I'm going to start with, I tend not to use this green straight out, even though it is a grassy green. I feel like it kind of looks almost like, I don't know, like, oh, scares me. I tell you, it just scares me. So here, just kind of laying in. I imagine that the water is sort of like falling on the grass here. I think it was with Melissa last night. We talked about that. Sort of, you can't just do like all of these little individual grass. You know, if I do lots of these things, that's a detail. So first you just got to kind of lay in some color. I'm going to grab that blue there and just go with it. Okay, so here, of course, I want there to be more texture than that, right? But know that we're going to put in some, I don't know how this one got to be so dark. Look at that there. Maybe I used a different color. So here, I'm going to kind of poop this in there a little bit so that centers my tree down. So now I'm kind of coming in with a darker color. You see how it's wet on wet, so it just spreads out and it just kind of does its own thing. That's fun. That's just letting it do its thing and I don't have to do it. So here, come on camera. Sorry, there's a delay on my camera. I feel pretty good about that. I think this is a very bright green. So watch what happens if I put this green in. Let me go in where it's still kind of wet. You see how that is like such a, whoo, that's a green. So I am going to add just a little bit in, but I'm going to let it really kind of blend in so that it's not so much. But I do like that it has such a vibrant color. It sort of pops everything up. So now I don't think we did a sky color. Oh, I can't, I've got a glare on this one. So I'm gonna do kind of some raised up little guys over here. Alrighty, so I'm gonna say that that is good for right now. Let's see. I do think I want a little bit more kind of splashed around. So hold on, let me just get. Okay, so I am going to let this be. I'm gonna close up this shop and hold on one second, I'm just gonna give it a dry. It's not exactly dry yet, but I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, so coming up to our pot, if you just kind of watch along and sort of just see, sorry, what I'm doing. So you don't always have to. See, I'm going to leave that open down there because that's where I've got that white highlight from my, and then here I'm just going to give a little bit more of a shadow where that's coming in. I'm going to do my little doohickeys up here because I just like them. So trying to stay out of the little pieces of I'm using the Bic Cristal pen because I know that there were some ladies last night that did not have the supplies at home yet. So in my head, I'm kind of just thinking that everybody has a just a regular ballpoint pen. So you can, a ballpoint pen will write over anything. I just like the Cristal because it kind of gives a, it's just a very bold kind of line. So for me, I love all the doohickeys and the little dots and the little lines. Hold on one second, then I'm gonna hold it up for you so you can kind of see what I'm putting in there. So there is that little guy done. Okay, so now I have a lot of still wet going on in here, so I probably should have done my splashing last, but it's okay. I don't know how to do this. I think I can come in here safely, so I'm just going to start on my bottom heart here. Now remember we talked about that I always put sort of like fun little doohickeys in the middle of the hearts. Usually I also put in like little, I might have to cheat, this is a micron pen, I might have to cheat and just, because I don't think I'll be able to use the Cristal for the fine details. Okay. Here. And then I just whoop, right up and around to the other side. I can feel my hand is in. So now you see what everybody was saying, that this was too much of a shadow, that it was just unsettling, but you see how it just fades into the picture when you're not just like hyper focusing on that one element. So here, so I'm just outlining all the hearts. I'm sort of putting stitches on some of them. Now ideally you would wait until this was all dry, but ain't nobody got time for all that. Okay. So over here's where it's all wet. So here I'm going to start doing the water. So the water, I just kind of did like this squiggle kind of. I'm going to just do this one part and then I'll lift it up so you can see it. Have no fears. See that? It's just sort of like, I don't know, like, I'm thinking about Charlie Brown. Do you remember, was it Sally maybe, who had hair like that? I need you to channel your inner Charles Schultz. Got it? And then you too will have the water. This one needs some of those cute little. Okay. So here I'm going to come again and get Sally's curly hair in here again. And then in here too, I would say just kind of draw in some little itty bitty circles. So it kind of adds to those others. And it kind of gives this like spattering kind of effect. Whoops. All right. Now these ones, I kind of start thinking that these are sort of where the water's really falling. So I'm just gonna do really long lines back and forth, back and forth. I'll pick it up in 1 second and show you. So I think right there is where the lines stop. So it's just shoop, 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 shoop. And then in here again, I'm gonna sort of do my squiggly curly hair. And then all my lines, my circles, sorry. Silly me. All right, then here we're gonna come up. I'm sort of following it along. With some squiggles. I'll pick it up again. In my head, I think it's Brenda that's talking to me and saying, I can't see it. So don't you worry, Brenda, I got your back. All right. And here. So I'm just putting in all my little round guys. Okay. So, oops. Let me start up here. Okay. So I kind of like this sort of grass thing that I've got going on there. So I'm going to start, let me do this first. Can you see my tree? So my tree, I'm going to kind of come up here. Big loose strokes. I just want you to practice just doing shoom, 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 big strokes, okay? You don't want to work little here. You want to work sort of big but controlled. So when we start working on flowers, we're going to do a lot of inking. So that's all coming. So you have to, I think it was Rembrandt. And you know, people used to always study with the masters and try to learn the craft. One of his students said, Master, how did you become such an amazing artist? And Rembrandt said, I think it was Rembrandt, I have to cross-check it, but somebody definitely said it. He said, draw lines, young man, draw plenty of lines. So there is a control that comes from drawing the lines, and we'll get that. When we're doing the watercolor, the flowers, we'll get those lines. So to see how that just looks like it's kind of a gnarled old root kind of coming off there. All right, so now up here, now I'm coming up big. I do want to get some, I don't have any like sort of here on the edge, so I want to get some kind of right in there. And then sort of just pick like a strand to sort of darken up. So I'm just picking a line that's in there, top to bottom, and just choosing to darken that piece up. Okay, so in here now, this is that same kind of feel. What I already did with the paint, I'm now accentuating with the pen. So here, this is almost the same way that you do eyelashes. So you're going to come, so you're sort of reinforcing that bottom line and then coming up and bring in that, like you can just feel how gnarled that branch is. All right, so see how that looks? And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of make a dark spot right in there where this branch is coming on. I'm just going to kind of do the same thing. I'm doing the same, I'm coming out and then down and around so that I'm creating a, wait, where am I? So I'm coming out and down, out and down, out and down, out and down. Okay, so here. But I don't want to kind of do like the whole thing. I sort of want to do it a little bit sporadic so it doesn't, you know, read as, I don't know, too much. Okay, so the grass. Now I have grass. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of just put in some little pieces of doohickey grass because I like how it's looking up here, and I don't know that I necessarily want to do it everywhere because I want it to kind of stay up here. On my original, I put the grass in everywhere, but I think I might just do sort of little bits and pieces around it about. And all I'm really doing is straight up and down lines. As it goes farther away, the grass is going to get sort of smaller. Okay, so I'm just going to add in some depth down here on the bottom of my little root. So that it really pops, pops, pops. Okie dokie, so now I am going to use my Kuretake, and I'm going to say, let me see, yeah. So I should write this out and make sure that at my present size I'm going to fit it on here, but let's pray. Woo! Bloom where Okay, so bloom where you're planted, and then I think I just put some little hearts in here. Oh, this way, right? Maybe a better. Okie dokie. So then there's just one more fun thing we get to do. So the whiteout pen. Also, just so you know, this is the Jelly Signo. So the Jelly Signo just does really fine lines. So Julie, you're gonna like that a lot better than this big pen. This will just do, and there's really no other little pen. It's just cheap, it works. Get them on Amazon. I guess I'll put the link up, but these are more accessible. So let's do here, let's just kind of come in here. So I'm just applying a little bit of pressure on my, nothing's coming out. This is where you can get in trouble. If you put too much pressure on that, it's gonna splooge, like Julie said. So, who was it? Rebecca? Missy, Melissa, and Rebecca, was that right? You had a really dark purple heart. So here, what I'm going to show you is how to get some highlights in your water. So here, if I kind of come in and do, I'm going to put a little spot on all of my little dots. So you see how I can come in, ooh, no you can't see, and lighten up that. So that's what I'm just kind of adding the froth element to the water. Because you know there's always going to be like all that great splashing and all that. So here I'm just putting that in. It's not real obvious, but it adds just another layer. So it's always just about layers, layers, layers. So here there'd be just like these places where it's going to catch the light. You'll get there. See right here how I just kind of put those in. So here again, catching the light, catch the light, catch the light. Here it will be down here, this will be over here. So let's say that you've got a really dark heart. So down here I've kind of got a dark one. So I'm just going to put in a heavy kind of white line to just pop it a little bit. But now that heart is so drastically different than the others. So I'm just going to add a white little highlight into all of them. So you don't want to do one thing to one and not to everywhere else. So I think my grass needs to get a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of come in and I'm just dotting and dashing just dotting and dashing on there to sort of give some light into that grass. Because truth be told, I started to scribble. Yeah, you caught me. Come on. There's Grace here. So let me just sort of, and then up here it would really start kind of catching the sunlight. So see, it's just dots and dashes. Here it's going to be darker. because it's sort of, the water is creating a shadow there. Okay, so let's go crazy and put a little bit of, now you know what, don't do that, that's going to stress everybody out. Don't do that, leave your tree alone, leave it the way it is. So I would say that's done, but now listen, this is a great secret. You ready for this? So here it is, but now see, I feel like it just needs something on the edges. I know you're with me, I know you're with me. So I'm going to use any stamp pad that you have, and you're just going to do like this if you want. But what this does is it gives your eye a visual stop. I know Linda does this with her cards, so yes, 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 do it with here too. So it's not showing up so much. Oh, I don't, well, I'll just do it there too. But see, I want more. I want it to kind of be like this sort of. So I'm going to come down in more. I know, look at that. And then let's see what happens. Big experiment. Let's just try to kind of more water, because I want it to be soft, soft, soft. And then here. That could be a little bit darker because that would have sort of the shadow of the tree up there. So now I'm just going to throw some water on there and just smooth that out a little bit. I don't think I put much on this side. So let's come. Now see, this is why it's so, that's a lot. Lisa, chill out. Oh gosh. So here, it's important to use your pens that you use, that they have, that they're waterproof. See, because I'm still coming in on top of it. So if I did not use a waterproof pen, that would have just all reactivated and it would have been a hot mess. So that is why you need to get the waterproof pens. So I don't know, I think I dig that, just a little bit of color around the outside. I might just put a little bit more right in here. Oh, I can't see out of my glasses. Okay. Just a little bit in there. And that, ladies, I would say is done. Sign it and date it and give yourself high fives and hugs because you did it! Woohoo! All right, remember next time is flowers. I'm going to put up the reservations today. Fair warned though, I think the flowers are going to take 3 classes because we have to do the drawing, we have to do the underpainting, and then we have to do the overpainting. So I just made that word up, but I feel like it was completely appropriate. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the next one is a series for flowers, and I'll post it on the Praise Heart page. But there you go. Thanks, guys. Bye.